Well, today's project, I had to rip off the top of a porch that caved in. So I had to rip it off and redo it and re-pour it. I did it by hand. I'm going to show you how I did it. Well, today what we're going to do is we got to fix this porch top. And you can see, if you could see, it all caved in there. See, it all cracked up. So what we have to do is jack this up a little bit and replace the whole thing. Well, first thing I gotta do is jack the porch up to get this thing out of here. Like that. Then I jack this side up. Okay, got that done. Let's see what's going on here. And looks like, look at this. There it is. So, got wire in it. They got rebar in it. See, they got reed pipes in it. That's actually one of the reasons it cracked. Okay, we're just gonna knock it apart. Take it all away. See these rods? Don't do that. Don't put big rods in concrete. It don't help. Look at this. This big pipe here they put. See that pipe? What happened is these pipes rust, they expand, and then they fall apart. In there. That's it. No big deal. Gotta fill these holes up as I'm going. Any junk I got. So if you're watching, filling these holes up with the junk. See these holes? I don't want any cement going down there. I'll explain that a little later. Well, I got the whole top cleaned off, and I'm filling these blocks in because I'm going to cover this so the cement don't go down there. And here, let's look at this again. This is the pipe they had in here. See how it rusted away? It's all falling apart. I did a whole video on that, whether I should use rebar or not. So take a look at that, you'll see what I mean. But we are going to put a piece of wire in here because of the post, just to hold it together. But it's thin wire. You're going to ask me, how do I know how many bags to get? Here's 1, 2, 3, 4. And we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So for 5s are 20 bags. Now I'm a carpenter today too, and I gotta have 4 1/4 inches of concrete. So that's what I'm doing. I'm building the lip first. I'm gonna put the whole thing around to make sure it matches. Like that. Well, I got it all formed up, and I played with it. I kept all the forms loose. Let's see, I got all these holes in here going all the way around, especially over here. So what am I gonna do? I'm gonna mix some cement and block them all up. So I'm just mixing up some rapid set mortar mix. And I'm gonna get some water and wet this, because everything I put on here, I want it to stick. We gotta plaster it later. Wet all this. Make sure everything sticks. And if you want, you could add some rocks to it. You can fill in the big places. That don't hurt nothing. All we're doing is filling in these holes. like that. I'm going to cover it with black paper. You got to fill in the holes though. You don't want no concrete going down inside the block. See, sometimes I gotta build up to that lip. So now I'm just filling this with plain old pea gravel. That's all. So now I'm just getting some plain old roofing paper, black paper. Roll it out here this way, maybe. Let me see. Some black paper here and roll it out. Okay, so we put our black paper down because we do not want the concrete to touch the blocks. The concrete touches the blocks, it cracks the blocks when it shrinks and expands. So we put the black paper down and the concrete floats over the top of it. So then I went and bought wire. See, this is thin wire. That's not going to hurt the concrete like thick stuff. So I'm going to get this in here like that. Well, we're all done for today. Got the wire in. Tomorrow we're going to come and mix the cement and pour it. So I'm back the next day and I'm looking at it. See, the black paper only goes to here. On bigger jobs I would use, you don't have to really do the center. On bigger jobs I would just use shingles. And before I even start mixing, I wet my forms. See this? I wet them up because what happens is the forms suck the water out of the cement. So I get a sponge and some water and I wet the forms. Now here's what I'm using. I'm using this Quikrete. It says fast setting. Why am I using fast setting? Because it was 32 degrees this morning. It's going up to 60 and it's going to stay above 50 for the next 3 days. That's why I'm doing this job. So I'm going to use another bag. And I think a half a bag is going to do me. Half a bag will do me. But also, I'm going to add a little bit of Portland. See the Portland? I don't think that Quikrete is as strong as they say it is. Everybody writes in, says the same thing. So I want to make sure. Now I'm going to mix it up. And I can do it pretty quick. Because I'm good at doing this. That's about it. That's the consistency I want. Yeah. I don't want to do the edges yet because I want to get the wire up a little bit. See, get the wire up. And I want it right about the middle. So now I got the wire up. I'm going to go along the forms and work my way over. Along the forms, and they're wet. I want to make sure I leave as many, not that many, what we call honeycombs. So you go along here, you know the wire's up. Okay. Now I'm going to get my straight edge. Make sure I'm pretty straight. See that? So far, so good. I'm going to show you what I do as I go. Well, I'm going to go through something here. You watch. This is where the concrete is supposed to be. All right? That's what the board says. Let me tell you something. You're working on a concrete porch. That's nice to do that, but I want it higher near the door. Right here. I want it higher. I'm going to get my level, go like this. And I got a good pitch from the door. See that? In other words, I'm cheating. I'm cheating for a reason. Because I know through my years of experience, what happens with concrete is it bows. So I'm going from that high spot with the level right through. Because I don't want any water laying near the door. Comprende? No water laying near the door. Check it again. Yeah, it's a little high there. When the water blows in, I don't want no water laying near that door. Can't say that enough. So I don't want any water in near the door or going towards the house. I want everything to go away. I check with my level. I got a good pitch. Check this with my level, a good pitch. I check this with my level. I got a pretty decent pitch. So now, don't have to worry about water getting to the door. I could continue on now. Now we're going to get our concrete edger and go along the sides. It's getting hard already. See that? Getting hard. I knew it. I knew it was going to get hard pretty quick. Now, when you're doing your edges on a porch, you want it a little bit lower so the water runs off. Okay, now I get my big one out. It's going to show any holes. And I'm going to get my level out again. Check it again. Don't want any water laying on this porch. This is also vibrating it. See it? That's a little low there. So, a little bit there, like that. Now I got a big pitch on this because I learned my lesson years ago. Don't play around with water. Make sure no water's going to lay on it. I got half a bubble. That's pretty good, a half a bubble. Let's look at it this way. Right there. So I got almost 3/4 of an inch pitch on 4 feet. That's pretty good. As you do this, it settles out a little better. Got a little hole there, see it? Finishing up, I got my edges all in. I'm going to take the forms off probably tomorrow and go from there. So people ask me, Mike, how do you know when concrete's ready? As soon as it swirls, it's ready. Now, I used to do the fancy swirls at one time until we did the whole driveway, and then these two birds decided to have a fight in the middle of the driveway, and I couldn't fix it. Not right. So I don't do that anymore. And I worked for my cousin who was a pool guy, and he told me not to leave the lines in there because people's toes trip over them. So I stopped doing that. So when you're doing concrete, it's an experience thing. But as soon as it swirls, you should be good. Well, it rained all day yesterday, so today I'm taking the forms off and I'm going to see how we did here. I hope we did good. Here we are, not too bad. See, pretty good. We got to knock this off. Look under here. Good. Very good. So we're looking at it. and not too bad. I got a little hole here and there underneath. That's from that plaster. Let's look underneath. If you can see it, you can see the black paper. See the black paper under there? So in this can move freely back and forth underneath the pad. So now I'm going to patch up the sides. So I got to fix these sides and I got to fix the top. Looking in here, you see the wire? Well, I told you 100 times before, the wire don't last. It rots away. We're going to give it a patch up though. Use this repair mortar because it sets fast. That's what I want to do. I want it to set fast, about that much. And I learned to trust this a lot. I got to put little Portland in it just to make sure. Had good luck with that stuff, but I got to make sure it's strong enough. So now I'm just going to mix it up. Keep adding water with the sponge until I get it where I want it. So it's good stuff. It's pasty though, very pasty. First thing, like I always tell you, this is my sprayer. It's just filled with water. You gotta wet it first. That's what's gonna make it stick, especially down the bottom. We're gonna get our stuff, put it right in there, just like that. No big deal. And I'm going to fill the holes in. Get a punch out like that. Don't look bad. I can live with that. And down here at the bottom, you gotta see how dry it is. Just take a float like that. And we could float it out with this. See, everything's uneven. So we got to use the sponge. See? Kind of blend it all in there. Nobody knows we're even here. Very good. Sponge it in there. Yeah. Fill in all those nooks and crannies. So I got it cleaned up a lot. I patched all the holes up. But when you see this concrete pad laying on here, I also have another video. It's called concrete pad or porch with deck pans. And I'll leave a little site for you. And I explained how you would do this on a bigger job when you were using deck pans. So watch that. Well, I'm back 5 days later and I'm putting the post back. So I cut the post. Just want to show you how I V-necked that. And down here, I put this little pad. I staked it down and I secured it on the bottom. So that's holding that up. This is just loose a little bit. I'm going to jack it up and drop it down on that. So I got it jacked up. I got to get this in. So this worked out good underneath, but it's spotted. So I'm gonna just mix some Portland up and paint it with Portland. So now for painting the sides, we're just gonna get a little Portland and we're gonna put it into there, add a little water, start mixing it into a paint. So that's it. A little paint, made a paint out of the Portland. And I take my sprayer with nothing but water in it. I give it a little spray. Gotta wet it first. Actually, I wet it before just to pre-wet it. But this is the second wetting. Not too much, just enough. And I get my paint and I paint it with the Portland. No big deal. See that? It's gonna hide all that sins of that drying at different times. Real simple. Look at that. It's all blending in now. See that? I'm hiding it. See that? Now it's all gonna dry basically one color. Okay, we're just matching it all in here. So that's it. That's the end of the job. That's gonna dry white like the porch. I put the post back up. Everything's finished. Done. I'm gonna talk about that job a little bit. I used 24 bags. I measured 20, but I always get extra. And if you get it from like one of these box stores, you can always take your extra back. So don't be afraid of getting extra. I'm into more of the fast drying cements than I ever was because they just really start making them in the last 10-15 years. Anytime if it was going to be a regular hot day, I wouldn't use the fast dry and I just used a regular cement. And Quickcrete, I throw a little bit of extra Portland in it just to make sure it's strong enough. And when I did the porch, I built it up near the door like an umbrella. And it just so happened a neighbor came over. He had the same problem right there near the door. It just sank down a little bit. He was getting water. It went in against the plate, rotted it all out. So I always build it up against the door and out like an umbrella, and I never had a problem. I used a repair mortar and I added Portland to it to go around the top of the concrete, and I used the sponge float to get it in. I'm using more and more of the fast drying products. Thing is, you got to know where to use them and when to use them. And then a couple days later I painted the bottom with Portland where I fixed up underneath, because concrete dries, it's different colors where it dried and where it didn't. I have 3 similar videos to this. One is building a concrete porch with deck pans, where I put the deck pans over the top and poured the concrete like a roof over the top of the porch, and I showed what I did around the edges. You don't want the concrete holding onto the blocks. That's a common mistake. Everybody thinks you got to rebar everything in. You don't. You lay it and you let it float. I don't know how it is in other states, but around here that's what you do. Another one was smooth finish concrete part 1, and that was a loading dock I built. Show you how I did that. And the other one was building a stone porch. These are all similar, using the same techniques. So thanks for watching. I appreciate it. I'm Mike Haduck, and I'll see you next video.